Welcome to the Curious Realm.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the IANDS, International Association for Near-Death Studies Conference here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We have the pleasure of having with us Patricia Grabow. She is an experiencer of near-death experience, as well as an author of Climate Change, the Healing, The Immortal Now, Love to the Millionth Power, and Jill's Story, which is a fictional account of
with
the information and the concepts from climate change. So thank you very much for your time. It's often hard to get authors to be pulled away from their location.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's hard. You're working a sales floor. So let's get into your experience and what your near-death experience was, Patricia.
Well, can you imagine me 6 feet tall in a Mini Cooper?
Oh.
So my son, Chris, is in the front seat, and my son is 15 years old. Tim is in the back seat. And I am determined that I'm going to take my children on a bicycle trip through Europe. And I'm determined that we're going to have fun and that I'm going to get my life put back together again. I just come from a devastating end to a relationship with a man I thought I loved. And as he walked out the door, he said the whole relationship had been for revenge. And he wanted me in a position where I lost everything, and he was correct. I had lost everything.
Wow.
And I lost my speaking voice for 3 days. And then I realized I had to start over again. So I withdrew my teacher's retirement and decided this trip to Europe on a bicycle for a month was going to do the trick. So we decided we would start in England. And we were just coming back from Stonehenge and Salisbury, and we're in a suburb of London, and I'm focused on this little Mini Cooper that we fondly called Bilbo Baggins. Not being lost in suburban London in a rainstorm where the rain is just coming down in sheets. So I'm driving, I begin to smell gas fumes in the car. And so I roll the window down, we get soaked, and then I roll the window back, and I roll the window down. Well, I lost consciousness. And our little Mini Cooper headed towards 2 gas pumps.
Oh, my.
And we were head on by a Mercedes-Benz. And there's pictures over there of that Cooper. It looked like a crumpled piece of paper.
Yeah, it was a pretty devastating accident.
It was pretty devastating. And I can't even imagine what my children went through. Chris, you've met Chris.
Yes.
Had a broken femur and a broken arm. And Tim was bruised. But can you imagine what they watched, my lifeless body getting out of that crumpled Mini Cooper? So I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not there. And the beauty for what happened to me was there was no I. There was no Patricia. I was in love beyond measure. I call it Love to the Millionth Power. That's why the name of that book is Love to the Millionth Power. It is like when I was a child, my grandmother, I loved my grandmother, and she was 80, and I would climb on her lap, and she would put her arms gently around me and her little German accent, and she would tell me she loved me, and she meant it. It's that kind of love that was not quantifiable.
Yeah.
It was beyond imagination. Or when you see your child for the first time and you hold him in your arms, and these arms are meant to hold them.
Yeah.
And you just disappear because you love them so much. And take that and multiply that times 1,000,000. I was that love. And I was lost, and I was whole. And then it must be what it's like coming back, being born, because suddenly I'm back in this hospital in Kingston, and gravity is pushing on me, and I can feel every capillary in my body, and light is just horrible. And I realized that whatever happened here, I'm back. So my ex-husband was an ABC News correspondent, so he was in Paris. He came over, and he couldn't stay, so he sent Tim back to his home. Chris had to stay in the hospital till the femur healed, and they had to ship me back with my injuries. So that's how I died and what came back.
And what were the messages that you received while you were on the other side that led you to write Climate Change: The Healing?
Well, my story is a little different from that. Okay. So I come back. I'll tell you the story pretty briefly. So I come back, and all I want to do is go back. My sister and her husband beat me at the airport, and I'm crying uncontrollably. It's not because of the severance of that relationship, because every second, every minute, I just want to go back to where I was. And I tell my sister, go ahead, I'll catch up with you. And that night I think of taking my life. And I'm struggling all night long because I just want to go back to where I was. I make it through the night, I get to my sister's. My brother-in-law gives me what I call the luminous gifts of the spirit. And he says, why don't you try automatic writing? And I said, fine. And it worked. I was up all night with these loving messages. And it says I was supposed to do 4 books in my life, and they were to help humanity for the next 100 years. That was the purpose of them.
Wow.
And that I would be given housing and I would be given money so that I could do these 4 books. So I said, fine, whatever you say. I mean, it's so accurate. I got to tell the story. It's so accurate that it took me to Jackson, Wyoming, and it said, go to the Silver Dollar Bar, and you will find the man who has home you will be in, and get his phone number. So I go to the Silver Dollar Bar. There's one stool. I get this guy's phone number. I don't even know who he is. And then it had me go to Wilson, Wyoming, this automatic writing. And it said, I see this cute log house, and I think, wow, that is darling on a street. It said, that man owns this house, but you will not offer that house until August 15th, at which point you will offer $400 a month. And in 3 weeks, you will have a job on the North Slope. Fine, whatever it says, I will do. So I in fact, got a job on the North Slope in 3 weeks at Construction Camp 1.
Wow.
I had my friend Judith call this number of this man I don't even know. And she called me and she said, Pat, are you sitting down? And I said, I will. And she said, number 1, that man owns that house. Number 2, the people that live there gave their notice 3 days ago. And the house is available, and it's $3.90 a month. So the writing was $10.
Wow.
But it guided me I got the house, I had the money to live on. My son Tim came out because he loves skiing, and he joined the Jackson ski team. I find out I'm pregnant, and I meet the people who are going to help me do these 4 books.
Wow.
So the people that I was led to worked with Casey's work, and they know how to do this channeling or voice communication. So we started the books. So the first book I did was called Love to the Passage from Fear. The second was Passage from Karma. I have my little boy, and then it said the third book was going to be on love, salvation, and soulmates. And the fourth was going to be on the nature of the present time. So but I don't do the book on love to the millionth power, a woman's journey from death to love to living in the immortal now, until almost 15 years later.
Oh, wow.
Because it says everything comes from within. And you don't have a treatise on love, salvation, and soulmate. You have a life on love, salvation, and soulmates. And that your nature is what I experienced when I died. And it is time that even the scientific community has a paradigm it works from. It works from the idea that we're born, we live, we die, good and bad.
Yeah.
Medieval theology. But this is saying no. This is saying we are that love to the millionth power. And it never left me. I did for 40 years, I've done everything it told me to do. And I have meditated with the meditation I was given. So I finished the third book was on the nature of the present time. It's called The Immortal Now. See, when you die, you're just as present as you are. It's not eternity, it's the nature. You're present. You're a present being. And your substance is love to the millionth power in the present time. And I didn't really understand that, but I think we're beginning to get that in the heart. We don't get this here. We get this here.
Yeah.
And so I compare this to I don't think I was supposed to do the book on climate change until I finally reached this place. And do I have time to tell a quick story?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so, this has been going on. So I published the first book with Saul Stenberg. Bruce had contacted. A book called Course in Miracles had just come out, and Saul was the publisher for that. And then he made arrangements for me to go to Los Angeles for this other person that he was publishing, Louise Hay. So this is back a long time ago. And then he made arrangements for us to go to the Moscone Center at the American Booksellers Convention in San Francisco. So I go with Saul and Louise, and Rob is 3 years old, so he's running all over the place. And I'm chasing him. Louise has to manage our booth. Saul disappears. Louise turns to me and she says, "Pat, I am not going to publish with Saul anymore. I am going to start my own publishing company." And that was Hay House, which is a very large metaphysical publishing house.
Yeah.
So I have these 40 years of fidelity. And that love to the millionth power I experienced when I died never left me. I was always tethered to it because it is our nature. So there's Andrew Wiles who did solved a mathematical equation called Fermat's last theorem. Took him 9 years. And he'd just get close to it, and then it was not quite right, and finally he solved it. 9 years, full-time, on his own dollar. I'm kind of like that. And so about a year ago, I was told I was to do this book on climate change, the healing. So I was to channel it. So I said, okay, whatever you say, always. And so it said, my job is to get this across the planet so everybody can see what it's saying. It's stunning. It's stunning. It takes our concepts of science and completely changes them, because we still base our concepts of science on the fact that we're born, we live, we die, we're good and bad. We still base our concepts of science upon medieval theology, whether we like it or not. And this is coming in and saying, no, this is who we are. When we die, you hear this all the time with near-death experiencers. They had this love, this light of love that overwhelms them. Isn't that remarkable? That's who you are.
Yeah.
In the present. It's the moment before you're hit by a wave. That's
Yeah.
And that what you see and experience is like an image on a mirror of what the truth is. So science will never get to the truth of climate change. When my son broke his femur, you'd think the bone would just get together and it would heal. But that isn't the way the bone heals. The bone actually goes in and rebuilds its entire self, because that way it's strong.
Yeah.
Okay, so this book is almost the definitive work that science doesn't get, which is everything is love. And it's like truth. Do you ever, can you quantify truth? Can you say, I have 3 ounces of truth?
No.
Can you say where it is?
Truth, much like time, is relative to the observer.
But there is, it's always available anywhere. Into unlimited. It's unlimited where it's available. And love is that way. And what we are this is saying that all substance is love. We think the atmosphere. We think we have the atmosphere. We are the atmosphere. And that is love. And it proves that. It says it. It's the most radical book that is out there right now, I believe. And it is the least likely solution to climate change, but it may be the only solution in print.
Yeah.
And even Target is beginning to carry it. But Jill's story is a way that people that aren't used to all this can just read the story and get the concepts. And then if they're interested beyond that, then they can read the book on climate change.
Yeah. And now, when it comes to climate change, once again, it's understanding the frequency of love and the vibration of love, and the fact that because we aren't necessarily vibrating that way, the earth is resonating.
It's your substance.
Yeah.
It's who you are.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that, but you don't know that here. You know that here. And I really didn't get that until I did this book. So I was like Andrew Wiles. I didn't get it. It didn't all come together until I did this book.
Yeah. And
but it isn't like I'm out here as Patricia, because when I died, I wasn't Patricia. I was love. Period.
Yeah.
And so
with the one as many.
we are one.
Yeah.
It says the way it's happening is all life is one at the Godhead, and the Dalai Lama calls this a wonderful book.
Yeah.
And so all life right now is working on climate change. All life together. So it isn't political and gee, I'm for it and I don't know if I believe it or any of that other thing. That's all over there in medieval theology. The reality, which is the substance of who you are, your everything, is all working together on this issue of climate change. So I want to get it out there. So I mean I have to. That's what I've always been obedient. I have to get it out there so that it's an option. You see.
Yeah.
It's so that you can say, like, maybe the mythology of the earth being held up by a turtle may be mythology, you see.
Sure.
And maybe that isn't quite the truth, you see. And so you want to look at some other options here.
Yeah. Now, how long after your accident? One of the things that we talk about regularly on the show with experiencers is many experiencers, the greater number of experiencers, do not come out with their experience until years after it happened. How long after your near-death experience in that car crash How long after did you come out with your experience and start writing the books?
I actually came out right away to the people that helped me out. I was told I'd go to a Casey meeting, and I had 17 notebooks full of automatic writing. And I go to the meeting, and I say, I'm supposed to be here, and there's supposed to be someone who helps me get these books done.
Had you ever experienced automatic writing or the skill of automatic writing before that?
Of course
and
not.
Are you still practicing automatic writing?
Yeah, yes. I do. I get all my guidance for 40 years.
Wow.
And my friend David MacArthur, I have to tell the story. So he and I was one of the people I was led to was the MacArthur family. David's wife had just been murdered, and it led to his going from an attorney to a Unity minister to head of the Unity Churches International. And they've all been just supporters of this work. I said, well, David, it hasn't gone across the planet. And he said, it doesn't matter. Because like Foucault's theorem, it's solved, it's there.
Yeah.
He said it'll have its own life path. But I actually was guided to tell my story so that I could do the books I had to do. And we only, of the 100 years, the book said we're supposed to help humanity. We only have 60 years left. but no, it's not my story as important as what came from that story into these books. So yesterday when I did a talk, I gave people the books. I said, because in this kind of situation, all we have is little time for you to hear the story.
Yeah.
But for you to spend time with the concepts of the Immortal Now and all these other books, it'd be just fun. Like in the Immortal Now, it says there is no time. There are moments.
Yeah.
We live in moments.
Yes.
And we live in moments of love. If you think of your first love, you can be transported right to that first love, right now. Because that's how we live. And so it takes the book, The Immortal Now, it takes us into a different way of looking what people have read. It's called a startling and new perspective on life.
Yeah.
So you begin to, it's almost to me like the burden of sin and repentance. The second book is on Passage from Karma, the end of sin and repentance.
Yeah.
All that burden is lifted from you. The burden that you die, the burden that you're pre-birth, all those are lifted from you, and you move into love itself.
And
what power that is.
It's interesting. We regularly have the conversation about love, frequencies, things like that on this show. And here in the West, we have a very muddled understanding of love. We tend to intertwine it with romanticism. We tend to intertwine it with physical intimacy.
Yeah.
When there is like pure agape love for the world around you, your fellow man, plants, animals, doesn't matter. That is that feeling that you get the little tug behind your belly button when you meet somebody that's like, wow, there's something here. And that does not have to be a romantic thing. That does, and I have said for years, the idea of falling in love, I think, is really the root of the problem. Because by removing the intentionality of love and the fact that love is an intention, you intend to love.
Yeah.
You can choose to love or not to love. You can wake up today and be like, you know what? I don't really need to love anybody but me today. Need my cup filled. And that's okay. That's all right. The important thing is knowing that you need love right now.
Yeah.
So that you can give love to other people.
Yeah.
And we've really obscured that spiritually and physically here in the West, in Europe, everything else. Many Eastern cultures still fully appreciate that and have like the Dalai Lama, Buddhists,
And the scientific community just nullifies it.
Well, and what's interesting is that the more we have gotten into quantum mechanics and things like that, we have realized the fact that there is this malleability to the fabric of what's around us. And that, we can manifest things. We can, your anger toward people is a manifestation.
Yes, true. Absolutely, Chris.
And is 10 times more powerful than any vibration of love, sadly and horrifyingly. So when you choose to literally even use the word hate, as opposed to anything like, I hate ketchup. Okay, cool. That is an inanimate thing. How can you? I don't grasp psychologically the concept of hating somebody you've never met.
Yeah,
and putting energy into that.
Yeah,
and putting energy into that hate.
Yeah,
like giving it life.
What does that do to you here?
Yeah.
How does that feel when you do that?
It is. For me, it is a corrupting moment.
Yeah.
It is. My spiritual basis is Roman Catholic. Spent a year in the seminary studying to be a priest. Left, spent many years as a youth minister, taught spirituality, religion for better than a decade. Because it wasn't for me, it was for other people.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that I needed to focus on me too, so that I could give to other people in another aspect. But through that journey, it was one of those that it became easier for me to love.
Did it?
Than to hate.
Yeah.
And it's because it was a decision. And the day that I realized that it was a decision, that I was literally I was letting that focus of hate win.
Yeah.
I was literally giving my power over to it. And on a daily basis.
It is your power.
It is.
Love is the only power.
Exactly.
Hate has no power.
Yeah. We give it power. We give it power.
The love gives it power.
Yeah.
But getting this climate change is the most radical book on the planet right now, because it takes on this whole concept that we're born, we live, we die, and that there's good and bad. That is the turtle holding up the world mythology.
Right.
It is not true.
Yeah.
You talk to near-death experience survivors, and they will tell you to a person that there was, what do you mean? There's the end of everything. We are present beings.
Yeah.
I was as present when I died as I am present now.
That's right.
We have the present time. I was at Deepak Chopra's meditation, and the woman said, we're eternal beings. I said, no, we're not eternal beings. We're present beings.
Ever present.
That's different.
Yeah.
This takes it on.
Well, and even right here,
it's so important.
It says it's not an easy read because it uses words like love and says that the traditional religions, socials, and political systems and languages cannot produce the changes that will heal the planet.
Yep.
In one sentence, absolute truth, because all of that is corruptible.
Yeah.
All of that can run through the fallacy of politics. It can run through the fallacy of who's right, who's wrong, pointing fingers, and the left-right paradigm. Absolutely. And it really takes an open mind, an open heart to approach situations like this, and because until people reach that point of compassion, period.
Yeah.
And really, people have lost even
that's here.
Yeah. And people have even lost the point of the root of the word compassion. It means to suffer alongside.
Wow,
it means to suffer with somebody.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It means to literally know somebody's pain.
And this says, because all life at the Godhead is one, I can feel the pain of someone in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because we are one.
Absolutely.
And there is no separation of all life.
No.
And so all life is working in love to solve the issue of climate change.
Yes.
And it is the most hopeful book, but you have to shift the premise. You have to go from saying the world is held up by a turtle mythology.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of the mythology.
You've got to be willing
and you get to the pure love that is real that I experienced when I died.
Well, you've got to be willing to get past a positive or negative polarity to spirituality.
That's great. I taught in Bush, Alaska, native villages. They have 20 in Yupik Eskimo. They have 26 words for love. They have 3 words for time.
Wow.
English is just the opposite. We have 3 words for love, 26 words for time.
Yeah.
You see,
and
so our perspective shifts.
Yeah, and
that's what you're saying.
Even the perspective shifts of, once again, quantum mechanics, physics, things like that. We have now come to realize that, once again, like I say it on the show all the time, I am actively right now sharing my electron shell with somebody in Peru.
Yes.
Don't tell me we aren't connected.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that there isn't, aside from www, a worldwide internet of feeling, emotion, love. Even with the egg experiments that happened with MIT, where they were using random number generators that were following trends of humanity, and just as 9/11 happened, the major world events, things like that, these numbers spiked.
Really?
In random number generators.
Yes,
matched
they're
up.
Connected.
It's connected. We have to be willing to accept that connection, and we have to be willing to be responsible and accountable for what we bring into a room with us, the luggage that we are carrying.
Interesting point, Chris.
Because we all forget that we're walking into a room with luggage, and sometimes we ask people to carry it for us. That's not their job. It's our job. And we need to clean up what's in our luggage and lighten that up so that we can return to more love. Let everybody know, Patricia, where they can go to get their copy of Climate Change, the Healing, Love to the Millionth Power. Where can they go to get all the
Amazon.
books? Everything.
And also, I have a website, is climatechangethehealing.com.
Okay.
And it'll go into a lot of this. But that you're talking about the atmosphere. It goes into, we're not separate from water.
Yeah.
Water is in every cell of the body because it allows life to be mobile and move. And if you didn't have water in every cell, you would not move. We're all part of water. We're not separate. What we are working with, and that is love. And it translates the atmosphere, the sun, all those. It shows you how that is the love that we are experiencing. We experience it. We are not saving the world. We are experiencing the world.
We are the world.
We are the world.
Literally.
And we are love to the millionth power in the present time. And we are one, so we can do this. It's every healing in your body or any place else takes place in love. It does not take place in anger, hatred, all those things. Healing takes place. And when you break your arm, you can't stop your arm from healing. It will heal. Because that's your nature.
Hate literally has to be learned. Prime example, go watch any children. You were a teacher, I taught children myself. You walk into a room of 4, 5, and 6-year-olds that are strangers to each other, you will see no hate. You will see zero hate amongst them.
And they're funny.
They play with each other. They are each other's equals. They are each other's peers. There may be a bully amongst them that says, no, my toy. Things like that. But the first inclination is love. Who are you? What's going on? That's the first inclination.
Hug each other.
Yeah. Hate has to be taught and learned. Love is natural.
It is. It absolutely is.
Thank you so much for your time during this very busy conference.
Oh, no, I'm thrilled to be here. My job.
I would love to have you on again and again to discuss this topic because it is so important and something that I truly stand behind. Hey, my religious and spiritual experience is mine and my own. I am not a religious person anymore. I do not go to church. I do not frequent a church, but I talk with my God daily. I have taught my son about his connection with things and the world around him. And if he should so choose to explore a church option as he grows older, I will gladly explore any church option he chooses. But I will not put that upon him.
Upon him, yes.
So that's where I stand. But what I do teach him is the doctrine of love.
Yes.
And the doctrine of you are the one that's in charge here.
Yes.
You are the one that decides what you expel to other people
and he
put out.
feels here
Absolutely.
what you give there.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a beautiful thing. And thank
It
you
is.
so much for carrying on that teaching,
yes.
Patricia. Once again, everybody, make sure to go by climatechangethehealing.com to buy your copy of the book. While you're online checking that out, make sure to stop on by curiousrealm.com. We will be adding these books to our Amazon bookstore as well to make sure that we can get the message out more. You can also download our free app. You can tune in live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We will be back right after this commercial break with more coverage and interviews here at the IANDS, International Association for Near-Death Studies Conference 2022 in Salt Lake City, Utah. We'll be right back after this, folks.